What if the smartest person in the room isn't the one with the highest IQ? What if true intelligence has nothing to do with solving complex equations, memorizing facts, or earning impressive degrees? In reality, some of the most successful, respected, and influential people share a different kind of intelligence, one that quietly shapes their relationships, their careers, and the way they handle life's biggest challenges. It's called asterisk emotional intelligence, and it's one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who stays calm under pressure while everyone else is panicking? Someone who can walk into a room and instantly make people feel comfortable, or someone who seems to understand exactly what others are feeling without a single word being spoken. These people aren't just lucky. They have developed skills that most people never consciously learn. The surprising part is that emotional intelligence isn't something you're simply born with. It's a set of habits, behaviors, and ways of thinking that can be developed over time. Yet many people spend years focusing on academic knowledge while completely ignoring the emotional skills that determine how they communicate, solve conflicts, build trust, and respond to failure. Research has consistently shown that people with high emotional intelligence tend to build stronger relationships, make better decisions, lead more effectively, and experience greater overall well being. They don't avoid difficult emotions, they understand them. They don't let anger, fear, or frustration control their actions. Instead, they learn how to manage their emotions while understanding the emotions of others. The good news is that emotional intelligence leaves clues. It reveals itself through everyday behaviors that are often so subtle most people never notice them. Once you recognize these traits, you'll start seeing them in successful leaders, trusted friends, and perhaps even in yourself. In today's video, we're going to explore asterisk 10 traits of emotionally intelligent people. Some of these traits may surprise you because they challenge common beliefs about confidence, communication, and strength. As you watch, try to be honest with yourself. Which of these traits do you already have, and which ones could transform your life if you develop them? Be sure to stay until the very end, because the final trait is often the biggest difference between people who simply react to life and those who truly master it. Let's begin with the first trait. They stay calm under pressure. One of the clearest signs of emotional intelligence is the ability to remain calm when life becomes difficult. While most people react immediately to stress, emotionally intelligent people know that their first emotion doesn't have to become their first action. They understand that pressure can cloud judgment, so instead of allowing fear, anger, or frustration to take control, they pause, breathe, and think before responding. This doesn't mean they never feel stressed. They experience anxiety, disappointment, and uncertainty just like everyone else. The difference is that they don't let those emotions make their decisions for them. They recognize what they're feeling without becoming overwhelmed by it. Rather than reacting impulsively, they choose a response that aligns with their values and long-term goals. Imagine two people facing the same problem at work. One immediately panics, blames others, and makes rushed decisions that create even more problems. The other takes a moment to assess the situation, listens carefully, and focuses on finding practical solutions. Both people feel pressure, but only one allows that pressure to dictate their behavior. This ability to stay calm also has a powerful effect on the people around them. Emotions are contagious. When one person loses control, everyone else often becomes more anxious. But when someone remains calm, they create a sense of stability that helps others think more clearly. This is one of the reasons emotionally intelligent people often become trusted leaders, reliable friends, and valuable team members. Remaining calm doesn't mean ignoring emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means accepting difficult emotions without letting them control your actions. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing feelings, it's about managing them wisely. The next time you find yourself under pressure, remember that your greatest strength isn't how quickly you react, it's how wisely you respond. In many situations, the calmest person isn't the weakest person in the room. They're often the strongest because they've learned that self-control is one of the most valuable forms of intelligence a person can develop. They listen more than they speak. One of the most overlooked traits of emotionally intelligent people is their ability to truly listen. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, emotionally intelligent individuals understand that listening is often far more powerful than speaking. They don't interrupt to prove they're right, and they don't spend the entire conversation waiting for their turn to talk. Instead, they focus completely on understanding the other person's thoughts, feelings, and perspective. Most people believe communication is about having the perfect response. Emotional intelligence teaches the opposite. The best communicators are often the best listeners. They pay attention not only to words, but also to tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. Sometimes they notice emotions that the other person isn't even expressing out loud. When someone feels genuinely heard, trust begins to grow. People naturally feel more comfortable opening up to those who listen without immediately judging, criticizing, or offering unwanted advice. This is why emotionally intelligent people often become the ones others turn to during difficult times. They create an environment where people feel respected instead of dismissed. Listening also prevents unnecessary conflicts. Many arguments happen because people react before fully understanding what the other person is trying to say. Emotionally intelligent people avoid this mistake. They ask thoughtful questions, seek clarification when something isn't clear, and make sure they understand before responding. This simple habit reduces misunderstandings and leads to healthier, more productive conversations. Another important difference is that they aren't listening to find weaknesses or prepare a counterargument. They're listening to learn. They understand that every conversation is an opportunity to gain a new perspective, even when they disagree. This mindset keeps them open minded and helps them build stronger relationships with people from different backgrounds and opinions. True listening requires patience, humility, and self control. It means putting your own thoughts aside long enough to fully understand someone else's experience. That's not always easy, but it's one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity. See sixth, the next time you're having a conversation, pay attention to how much you're speaking compared to how much you're listening. Sometimes the most meaningful words you'll ever say are the ones you choose not to speak because your willingness to listen says far more than your voice ever could. They control their emotions instead of reacting. One of the biggest differences between emotionally intelligent people and everyone else is that they understand a simple but life changing truth. Asterisks, there is a difference between feeling an emotion and acting on it. They don't pretend emotions don't exist, and they certainly don't suppress them. Instead, they recognize what they're feeling, take a moment to process it, and choose how they want to respond. Most people react automatically. Someone says something offensive, and they immediately respond with anger. A small setback happens, and they instantly become discouraged. A disagreement turns into a heated argument because neither person takes the time to think before speaking. Emotional reactions are natural, but they often create problems that are much bigger than the original situation. Emotionally intelligent people break this cycle. When they feel angry, they don't immediately send that text message they'll regret later. When they're disappointed, they don't assume the worst. When they're criticized, they don't become defensive right away. Instead, they pause. That brief moment of self control allows them to think clearly instead of letting their emotions take over. This doesn't mean they're emotionless. In fact, emotionally intelligent people often experience emotions very deeply. The difference is that they understand emotions are temporary. They know that feelings can change within minutes or hours, but the consequences of impulsive actions can last for years. That's why they choose patience over impulse and reflection over reaction. This habit also improves every area of their lives. Their relationships become healthier because they communicate with respect instead of anger. Their careers improve because they stay professional during stressful situations. Their decision making becomes more effective because they're guided by reason instead of temporary emotions. Of course, no one gets this right all the time. Even emotionally intelligent people have moments when they lose their patience or say something they regret. The difference is that they recognize it quickly, take responsibility, and learn from the experience instead of repeating the same mistake. The next time you feel a strong emotion, remember this. Your emotions are valuable because they give you information, but they should never be allowed to make your decisions. Real emotional intelligence isn't about never feeling angry, afraid, or frustrated. It's about making sure those emotions never become the ones driving your life. They understand other people's feelings. One of the most powerful traits of emotionally intelligent people is their ability to understand what others are feeling, even when those feelings are never spoken out loud. This ability, often called empathy, goes far beyond simply being kind. It means seeing the world through another person's eyes, recognizing their emotions, and responding with understanding instead of judgment. Most people listen only to words. Emotionally intelligent people pay attention to everything else. They notice changes in someone's tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, and even moments of silence. Sometimes a person says, "I'm fine," while their expression tells a completely different story. Instead of accepting the words at face value, emotionally intelligent people recognize that emotions often speak louder than language. This doesn't mean they assume they know exactly what someone else is thinking. Instead, they stay curious. Rather than jumping to conclusions, they ask thoughtful questions and give others the space to express themselves honestly. A simple question like, "You seem a little different today. Is everything okay?" can make someone feel understood in a way they haven't experienced for a long time. Empathy also helps them avoid unnecessary conflict. They understand that people often behave differently when they're stressed, overwhelmed, or struggling with problems that aren't visible on the surface. Instead of reacting with anger, they take a moment to consider what the other person might be going through. This perspective doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it allows them to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Another reason empathy is so valuable is that it builds trust. People naturally feel safer around those who make them feel heard and understood. They don't have to pretend or hide their emotions because they know they won't be judged. As a result, emotionally intelligent people often form deeper friendships, stronger partnerships, and healthier professional relationships. Understanding other people's feelings doesn't mean ignoring your own. Emotional intelligence is about balancing compassion with healthy boundaries. You can care about someone's emotions without allowing those emotions to control your life. In the end, empathy is more than a personality trait. It's a skill that transforms relationships. The more you learn to understand others without rushing to judge them, the more meaningful and genuine your connections become. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer another person isn't advice or solutions. It's simply making them feel truly understood. They accept constructive criticism. Most people instinctively become defensive when someone points out their mistakes. It's a natural reaction because criticism can feel like a personal attack. Emotionally intelligent people, however, see criticism differently. They understand that not every piece of feedback is meant to hurt them. Sometimes it's an opportunity to grow. When someone offers constructive criticism, they don't immediately argue or make excuses. Instead, they listen carefully and ask themselves an important question: is there any truth in what this person is saying? Even if the feedback is delivered poorly, they focus on the message rather than the tone. They know that valuable lessons can come from uncomfortable conversations. This doesn't mean they accept every opinion they hear. Emotionally intelligent people know the difference between helpful feedback and unfair judgment. If the criticism is based on facts and offered with good intentions, they use it to improve. If it's simply meant to insult or discourage them, they don't let it define their self-worth. One reason this trait is so powerful is that it keeps them learning. While others protect their ego, emotionally intelligent people protect their growth. They understand that nobody is perfect and that every mistake contains a lesson if they're willing to see it. Because of this mindset, they often improve faster than others. They don't waste energy pretending they're always right. Instead, they use feedback as a tool to become wiser, stronger, and more capable. Their confidence comes from knowing they can learn, not from believing they already know everything. Accepting constructive criticism requires humility, emotional control, and self awareness. It's not about enjoying criticism, it's about recognizing that personal growth often begins where comfort ends. They set healthy boundaries. One of the biggest misconceptions about emotionally intelligent people is that they always say yes and try to please everyone. The truth is exactly the opposite. They understand that constantly sacrificing their own needs eventually leads to stress, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. That's why they know how to set healthy boundaries. They don't feel guilty for protecting their time, energy, or mental well being. If they're overwhelmed, they say no respectfully instead of agreeing to something they can't handle. If someone repeatedly disrespects them, they address the behavior instead of silently tolerating it. Emotionally intelligent people understand that boundaries aren't walls designed to keep people out. They're guidelines that teach others how to treat them. Healthy boundaries create healthier relationships because they prevent misunderstandings, resentment, and emotional burnout. Many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others. They worry that saying no will make them seem selfish or uncaring. Emotionally intelligent people recognize that constantly saying yes at the expense of themselves isn't kindness, it's self neglect. They also respect other people's boundaries. They don't pressure others into saying yes or make them feel guilty for protecting their own needs. They understand that mutual respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Setting boundaries isn't about controlling other people's behavior, it's about taking responsibility for your own well being. When you value your time, emotions, and peace of mind, you teach others to value them too. They take responsibility for their mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. The difference is how they respond afterward. Emotionally intelligent people don't waste time blaming circumstances, making excuses, or pointing fingers at someone else. Instead, they accept responsibility for their actions because they know accountability is a sign of strength, not weakness. Admitting a mistake can be uncomfortable. It requires putting your ego aside and accepting that you aren't perfect. Many people avoid this because they're afraid it will make them look weak. Ironically, the opposite is usually true. People tend to trust those who can honestly admit when they're wrong. Emotionally intelligent people don't say, "It's your fault I reacted that way." They say, "I could have handled that better." This small shift in thinking gives them control over their own growth. Instead of waiting for others to change, they focus on improving themselves. They also apologize sincerely when necessary. Their apologies aren't filled with excuses or hidden blame. They don't say, "I'm sorry you felt that way." They acknowledge their actions, express genuine regret, and work to avoid repeating the same mistake in the future. This mindset strengthens relationships because it creates trust. People feel safer around someone who takes responsibility instead of constantly defending themselves. Accountability shows maturity, honesty, and respect. Perhaps most importantly, emotionally intelligent people view mistakes as teachers rather than failures. Every mistake becomes valuable because it offers a chance to learn something new. Instead of allowing failure to define them, they allow it to develop them. In the end, emotional intelligence isn't about never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to own them, learn from them, and become a better person because of them. They solve conflicts without drama. Conflict is a normal part of life. No matter how kind, patient, or understanding you are, disagreements will happen. The difference is that emotionally intelligent people don't see every disagreement as a battle that must be won. Instead, they see it as a problem that needs to be solved. Their goal isn't to prove they're right, it's to find a solution that benefits everyone involved. When emotions start running high, most people react impulsively. They raise their voices, interrupt, or say things they'll later regret. Emotionally intelligent people choose a different path. They remain calm, listen carefully, and focus on understanding the real issue instead of attacking the other person's character. They also know the importance of timing. If someone is overwhelmed with anger or frustration, they understand that trying to solve the conflict immediately may only make things worse. Sometimes the smartest decision is to step away, allow emotions to settle, and continue the conversation when both people can think more clearly. Another reason they handle conflict so well is that they don't let their ego take control. They aren't afraid to admit when they're wrong, and they don't see compromise as losing. They understand that preserving a healthy relationship is often more valuable than winning an argument. Instead of asking, "How can I prove my point?" they ask, "How can we solve this together?" That simple shift completely changes the direction of the conversation. It replaces blame with cooperation and creates an environment where both people feel respected. Emotionally intelligent people also know that not every disagreement deserves their energy. They choose their battles wisely. If an argument has no meaningful outcome, they let it go instead of wasting time trying to convince someone who refuses to listen. True emotional intelligence isn't measured by how well you argue. It's measured by how well you create peace without sacrificing your self respect. The strongest people aren't those who win every conflict. They're the ones who know how to resolve conflicts with wisdom, patience, and dignity. They inspire people instead of controlling them. Emotionally intelligent people understand a powerful truth. Real influence cannot be forced. While some people try to control others through fear, guilt, pressure, or manipulation, Emotionally intelligent individuals earn respect through their actions, character, and consistency. They don't demand loyalty, they inspire it. They don't need to dominate conversations to feel important. Instead, they lead by example. Their honesty, humility, and emotional stability naturally encourage others to trust them. When working with a team, they don't constantly criticize or micromanage. They encourage people to think independently, recognize their strengths, and grow with confidence. They understand that people perform their best when they feel respected, not controlled. This trait also appears in personal relationships. Emotionally intelligent people don't try to change someone's personality or force them into becoming who they want them to be. They accept people for who they are while encouraging them to become the best version of themselves. One reason they inspire others so effectively is because they genuinely celebrate other people's success. They aren't threatened by someone else's achievements. Instead of feeling jealous, they offer encouragement and support. Their confidence comes from within, so they don't need to compete for attention or validation. People naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel valued and understood. That's why emotionally intelligent individuals often become trusted leaders, loyal friends, and reliable mentors. Their influence comes from respect rather than fear. In the end, the people who leave the greatest impact on your life are rarely the ones who tried to control you. They're the ones who believed in you, encouraged you, and helped you discover your own potential. They keep learning about themselves. Perhaps the greatest sign of emotional intelligence is recognizing that personal growth never truly ends. Emotionally intelligent people don't believe they've figured everything out. Instead, they remain curious about their own thoughts, emotions, strengths, and weaknesses. They regularly reflect on their experiences. After a difficult conversation, they ask themselves what they handled well and what they could improve next time. After making a mistake, they focus on learning rather than blaming themselves. This habit of self reflection allows them to grow with every experience, both good and bad. They also understand that their emotions provide valuable information. Instead of ignoring uncomfortable feelings, they become curious about them. If they feel angry, they ask why. If they feel anxious, they explore what's causing that emotion. This self awareness helps them understand themselves on a much deeper level. Emotionally intelligent people are also open to changing their opinions when they discover new information. They don't see changing their mind as a weakness. They see it as evidence that they're continuing to learn. Their identity isn't built on always being right, it's built on constantly becoming wiser. Another important habit is that they actively seek opportunities to improve. They read books, listen to different perspectives, ask meaningful questions, and welcome experiences that challenge their thinking. They know that growth begins the moment they step outside their comfort zone. Most importantly, they understand that emotional intelligence isn't a destination, it's a lifelong journey. Every relationship, every success, every failure, and every challenge teaches them something new about themselves. The people with the highest emotional intelligence aren't perfect. They're simply committed to becoming a little wiser, a little kinder, and a little more self aware every single day. And in the long run, that commitment to continuous growth becomes one of the greatest strengths a person can ever possess. Emotional intelligence isn't about being perfect. It's not about never getting angry, never making mistakes, or always knowing the right thing to say. It's about understanding yourself, managing your emotions wisely, and treating others with empathy and respect. The good news is that emotional intelligence isn't something you're simply born with. It's a skill that can be developed every single day. Every difficult conversation, every challenge, and every mistake is an opportunity to become more self aware and emotionally stronger. Now it's your turn. Which of these traits do you already have, and which one do you think you need to improve the most? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and your experience might inspire someone else on their own journey of personal growth. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future videos on psychology, emotional intelligence, and self-improvement. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, your greatest strength isn't how intelligent you appear. It's how wisely you understand yourself and the people around you. See you in the next video.